Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. Various concepts are used in astrology, and amongst those concepts the different lagnas are very important. So of course we have the D1 lagna, then we also use the Aruda lagna, we also use the Upapada lagna, and we use the Indu lagna. So various lagnas are also used to emphasize certain areas of our life also, and certain manifestations, certain results, certain probabilities also. So while we see different ones, trying to see whether we are getting more wealth or what will be a stronger manifestation, say for example through the Aruda lagna, one concept which is a less used one but which is a very effective one is to use the DASHA Lagnas. Now what are DASHA Lagnas? DASHA Lagna is nothing but to convert the Lagna into the Lagna of the planet whose Dasha is on. So wherever the planet is placed, if its Dasha is on, that house becomes the Lagna. So if somebody is born in the Aries ascendant, and if Mars is placed in the second house, for example in Taurus, if he is born in the Dasha of Sun, but when the Mars Dasha comes, we want to see what may be the results in the Mars Dasha. Then where is Mars placed? In the Taurus sign, in the second house. So the second house we convert into the Lagna and we make it a Taurus Lagna with Mars in the Lagna, in the ascendant itself, and from there then we look at analyzing different results of the life. So here in Aries, for example, Capricorn was the 10th house, because it is now the Taurus ascendant, so obviously now Aquarius becomes the 10th house. So different houses will also have different signs becoming the house owners rather than the previous one. So it is an interesting concept. It's seldom used, it's not used as often, but you will be surprised when you convert the Lagna into a Dasha Lagna how much probable events coincide with the situations that come up in life. So it's good when you're looking at major events in life, where the major events can happen. For example, marriage, childbirth, change of job, moving to foreign lands, or starting a new business, or getting into a partnership with somebody, or initiating legal proceedings against somebody. So when major decisions are taken in life, it is always good to convert the planet whose Dasha is on into the Lagna of that particular planet and then see results from there. And also if you are stuck up, if you are not getting results from a certain Dasha, then it also helps to convert the Lagna into the Dasha Lagna to see why things are stuck up, why things are not going the way we are expecting them to go in the certain Dasha, and what is getting activated. So because now the Dusthanas will change houses, the trine houses will change houses, the Kendra houses will change houses, so a lot of things will change, the manifestations of the life also changes, the Karakas also change. So let's do an analysis of a well-known celebrity, and this his horoscope has been used quite often. I don't know whether his horoscope has been used to do a Dasha analysis, but his life is very crystal to at least many Indians and many people around the world. A favorite of astrologers to use his or horoscope for analysis. One reason is because many times celebrities' exact date, time of birth is not known, and so people, on the net you will find different horoscopes for different people and different timelines also, so it becomes difficult. So this is a good horoscope to do a Dasha analysis, because this person's life is so intricately known to us that nothing in his life escapes our eyes, because one of the most scrutinized lives, very intricately, very intimately also looked at. So let's analyze the horoscope of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, the star of the millennium also, and his horoscope, and look at various dashas, how the Dasha Lagnas affected various events of his life, situations of his life, gave rise to certain results that he got, and also gave the impetus to certain downfalls that he faced. So let's look into his life from a Dasha analysis perspective. Now Amitabh Bachchan's Lagna being that of Aquarius, Saturn rules both the Lagna as well as the 12th house. So Saturn Dasha will definitely be very important, because not only will his Lagna be activated, but Lagna also being that of Aquarius, and Aquarius being the ruling sign of the 11th house of societal name, recognition, fame. So the Saturn Dasha would surely also activate that. But Saturn also ruling the 12th house in the Lagna chart. So when his Saturn Dasha would be on, his 12th house of losses, challenges, issues would also get triggered. Now in his Lagna chart, you will see that Mars is his 10th lord and Mars is placed in the 8th house. So his career, his work getting connected with the 8th house, the magical word is clearly seen here. And because it is with Venus and Mercury, so creativity and making tactful decisions, logical decisions, clever, intelligent decisions is also seen. And Jupiter, because Jupiter rules the 11th house of societal name, fame and success, and Jupiter plays an exaltation in the 6th house of competition, which means that he will be able to use his fighting spirit which Mars gives him to overcome all obstacles of the 8th house, all challenges of the 8th house, and then through his wisdom be able to use and get high societal name, fame, recognition, and the 2nd house success, because Jupiter also brings the 2nd house of livelihood and income and getting mass success there. Now, because he was born in the Rahu Dasha, however, the first 13 years of Rahu were inconsequential. However, Rahu being his Nakshatra Lord, definitely Rahu played an important part in various dissemination of his life, as we will see. So, for example, when his Jupiter Dasha started, these were the struggle years for Amitabh Bachchan. And when he tried to get his first break in All India Radio as a voice reader, as a news reader, he was rejected. But he did get a role to do a voiceover, or he get a work or project for a voiceover role in a Bengali movie. And this he got in the last Dasha of Jupiter, which is Jupiter Rahu Dasha. He also got his first Hindi movie, South Hindustani, then, and his first major release, which made him a huge star and established the angry young man image. The movie Zanjeer also released in that year. And now, in the Jupiter Dasha, as Mars continues to rule the 10th house, Mars rules the 10th house in the Lagna chart, and now in the Jupiter Dasha, when we convert the Lagna to the Jupiter Lagna, as we said, because we are going to see Dasha Lagnas. So in the Jupiter Dasha, when we convert the Lagna into the Jupiter Lagna, or the house in which Jupiter is placed, that becomes the Lagna. So we will see now his 10th house is ruled by Mars, and Mars gets placed in the 3rd house with Mercury, Venus, Sun and Mars. With Sun, Mercury and Venus. Now because the 3rd house is the house of self-enterprise, willpower, and so his 3rd house got triggered. Now in the Jupiter Rahu Dasha, Rahu is placed in the sign of Leo in the 2nd house. So his income was surely would get triggered during the Jupiter Rahu Dasha. But because Rahu is placed in the sign of Leo, ruled by Sun, and Sun is placed with Mars, which rules the 10th house, so his 10th house of career gets strongly activated. And because his 10th house gets activated, career gets activated, and the 3rd house gets activated because Jupiter Rahu Dasha is on, and Rahu is placed in the sign of Leo, the sign also gets activated because Sun is in the 3rd house. So the 3rd house is the house of marketing, communication, self-enterprise, willpower, and so he struggled, but he uses strong willpower to overcome all odds, and hence started a career break with a voiceover, because the 3rd house is the house of voice communication, and so he got a first break as a voiceover artist. However, because Venus is also placed here in the 3rd house, and Saturn is placed in the sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, so the 11th house is also activated, and again getting connected to the house of magic, the virtual house of magic, which is movies, through the 8th house, which is a previous sign. And so his movie started to do very well, and he got a huge break, and he became a superstar. Then he stepped into the Saturn Dasha. Now remember that Saturn is his original Lagna Lord, and here when you convert the Lagna into the Saturn Lagna, where Saturn is placed, the house where Saturn is placed, you convert the Lagna into that Lagna. So now his Aquarius sign, which is the original Lagna, that becomes the 10th house for him and continues to get activated or activating his career. And because Saturn is in the Dasha Lagna, where Taurus becomes his Lagna, because Saturn is placed here, Saturn becomes a strong Yoga Karaka, because Saturn rules both the trine house, the 5th house, as well as the 10th house, and is placed in the Lagna. So the Saturn Dasha triggered both his 5th house, where his fate and luck will turn around,
with the release of the movie Zanjeer, and his 10th house of career will also get activated. However, because Ketu is placed here, the clear sign for him is in this movie when he does roles, when he is showcasing that he is standing up for people, for the masses, he's standing up for a cause rather than for himself. Those movies of his did much better. And so in the movie Zanjeer, he is standing up for people who are the downtrodden, the poor. And in the movie Diwar, where again he plays the coolie, he is standing up for those people who don't want to give the hafta or to pay to the hooligans who come and take a percentage of their earnings from the coolies who are working on the dockyard. So when he stands up for them, he fights for them. That movie also did very well. Diwar movie did very well. Zanjeer movie did very well. And after that, his career completely turned around. He displaced Rajesh Khanna as the superstar. He became a mega star. And because his 10th house, Aquarius, is also co-ruled by Rahu, and Rahu is his nakshatra lord, so Rahu also gave him name, fame. And because Rahu is placed in the 4th house, so Rahu also gave him a lot of property. He got a lot of property, bungalows during. Now in the Dasha Lagna, his 5th house also gets strongly activated because Saturn is in the sign of Taurus. So the Taurus sign's Lord Venus is activated, and Venus is placed in the 5th house. So the 5th house gets activated. The 5th house activated means his 5th house of romance also gets activated. And because his 5th house of romance gets activated, and Mars, which is placed in the 5th house, and Mars, which is placed in the 5th house, also rules his 7th house. So he gets into a romantic relationship and ends up getting married to the person, which is Jaya Bhaduri, who later on became Jaya Bachchan. So he gets married in 1973 during the Saturn Dasha, then gets his first child in 74 and 76. Why? Because the 5th house of children is also strongly activated. However, during the same period, during 1982, he meets with a severe accident because his 8th house is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is under the 3rd aspect of Saturn. So obviously his Saturn will test his fighting spirit, which the 3rd house represents. But because Jupiter is exalted here, or in the exaltation sign, so he comes out fighting for his life. The whole country prays for him and he gets saved. However, he also tries his hand at politics and gets into politics to help a friend, Rajiv Gandhi, rather than to actually work for the masses. And so he faces corruption charges, and he eventually has to quit politics in 1986. So this Dasha gave him a lot of name, fame, property, got him married, got him children, got him out of a tough situation when he almost lost his life, but he also faced corruption charges and he also faced a backlash, and his popularity also took a beating because Jupiter not only rules the 8th house here but also the 11th house of name, fame and societal recognition. However, he continued to be the darling of the masses and his fame did not take such a severe beating. Though Saturn being retrograde will bring situations every now and then where his Lagna will also be affected, his name and fame will also be affected because Saturn is not only his Lagna Lord but also in the Lagna in the Dasha. Now when you move to his Mercury Dasha, that you will see that in his Mercury Dasha, when you convert the Lagna into the house where Mercury is placed, so now Mercury is in the Lagna but with Mars, Sun and Venus. Now his 10th house, because Mercury is the Dasha Lord, his 10th house is strongly activated because Mercury also rules 10th house. However, Mercury is retrograde. So both his Lagna, his name, fame gets also under a duress because Mercury is both combusted and retrograde as well as his career. And so this period between 1990 to 2007 was one of his worst periods, the most challenging periods and one of his toughest periods. Here, just at the beginning of his Mercury Dasha, his movie started to do not so very well, and that's when he decided to form his own company, which is ABCL, Amitabh Bachchan Corporation Limited, in 1995. And then he also organized the Miss World show in Bangalore in 1996 because of huge debacles, because of Miss World organization, as well as number of movies not doing well. ABCL or Amitabh Bachchan Corporation Limited got into huge problems in finances. His company went bankrupt. People put court cases against him, and his property was, a high court ruling was also stopped him from selling off his bungalows because he had to pay loans to Canara Bank. However, in spite of all these financial problems, on the popularity front, because now his 11th house was that of Cancer and Jupiter was placed in the 11th house because of the DASHA Lagna, and Jupiter is exalted in this 11th house. And so he won the superstar of the millennium, where he won against the other superstars of Hollywood. He beat all of the Hollywood superstars also to come out on an online voting as the superstar of the millennium. However, because of his financial challenges, he had to walk up to his friend Yash Chopra and ask him for help and asked him for work, and that's when Yash Chopra signed him for the movie Mohabbatein. So Amitabh Bachchan had to go back to his friends, which is denoted by the 11th house, and so his friends, his social circle came to his rescue again, and he was given the movie Mohabbatein. And after the movie Mohabbatein released and did very well, he also got the program Kaun Banega Crorepati, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the Hindi version or the Indian version of it. And at the same period, in 2000, his wax statue was also put up in Madame Tussauds. This was the first Asian ever whose wax statue was put in Madame Tussauds. So he got huge recognition even on the international front. Now from 2001 to 2006, he got a lot of money. He made a lot of money from Kaun Banega Crorepati so that he could pay back to his creditors. However, by the end of the Mercury Dasha, he also lost that program because he fell ill, and Shah Rukh Khan took over, who was also started to be seen as a competitor to him and who displaced him as the superstar. He lost his father in 2003. The reason being why he lost both the parents is, firstly, his Saturn is retrograde in the Dasha Lagna and placed in the 9th house, which is denoted by father, and his 9th house Lord Venus is actually debilitated in the sign of Virgo. And it is also placed with the Karaka of father, which is Saturn. And Saturn also rules the 6th sign where Ketu is also placed. So because of sickness, he lost his father. And then he also lost his mother during the same period within a few years, because Moon is placed in the sign of Libra, and Moon is the Karaka of mother, and the sign in which Moon is placed, that sign Lord Venus, is debilitated in the Lagna, and so he lost both his parents. However, at the end of, just at the close of the Mercury Dasha, his movie Black released and also Sarkar, both of them were decent hits, which brought him back into the reckoning. However, by the end of the Dasha, he had lost his major money-making assignment, which was Kaun Banega Crorepati. And then his Dasha changed to the Ketu Dasha. His Ketu Dasha ran from 2007 to 2014. So just at the end of the Mercury Dasha, at the beginning of the Ketu Dasha, he lost the program Kaun Banega Crorepati, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, to Shah Rukh Khan. However, in the first year itself, Ketu will not only take things away from you or negate, but also give you honor if Ketu finds that you are working in the direction of those who are downtrodden and the not so lucky. Because in lot of his movies, he stood up for people, stood up for others. So, in the Ketu Dasha Lagna, when his Lagna, which is also the sign of Aquarius and co-ruled by Rahu, this is also the Lagna Lord, and so his Lagna, or his name, fame, also got an impetus because he got the highest civilian award of France, which is the Legion of Honor, or Knight of the Legion of Honor, in 2007. Then in 2008, his movie Pa released and won him a Filmfare Award after more than a decade, and also a national award. These awards also came to him because his 11th house in the Dasha Lagna of Ketu, the 11th house now is that of Sagittarius, and its Lord Jupiter is in exaltation in the 6th house, where he won over competition or in a competitive situation, and he got the recognition and the name and fame also because his DASHA Lagna is also original Lagna. And then 2010, he also got the program back on Banega Crorepati, and he has never looked back from then on. Why? Because Kaun Banega Crorepati was also a program which was done for the masses, for the common man to realize his dreams, to compete in a program where he could also realize his dreams by winning a big amount. And again, because his 8th house is strongly activated here, because Ketu also is the co-ruler of the 10th house. Ketu also rules the 10th house of Scorpio along with Mars, and the 10th house here, Lord Mars goes into the 8th house. So his filmography, his 8th house continued to be active, and hence many times he could keep falling ill, he would also meet some accidents. He had also met with an accident in this previous Dasha, but in this Dasha he was also hospitalized 2-3 times and also went through surgery because of strong 8th house activation during the Ketu Dasha. And in this Dasha also he saved his properties, his cases were withdrawn against him, he was able to pay back all his investors, and so Saturn, the Dasha Lagna, Ketu being the Dasha Lord, being placed in the Lagna, and Saturn also ruling the Lagna and placed in the 4th house, so he was able to save. Saturn helped him save his properties also. Now after that he is now into his Venus Dasha, though not the last Dasha, but this is going to be the most important Dasha from him, from his health point of view also. And at the start of the Dasha he made a special appearance in the movie The Great Gatsby, along with 2 other superstars of Hollywood, Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. And in 2015 he also won the National Award for the movie Bhrigu. Again, his 11th house is strongly activated, with Jupiter going into the 11th house. And why? Because the Dasha Lagna is now Venus, and Venus is in the sign of Virgo. So once again the same Lagna which was the Lagna which was activated during the Mercury Dasha also got activated during the Venus Dasha, and the same Lagna became the Dasha Lagna again. So Jupiter goes into the 11th house and gets him his national award, gets him huge recognition, and he continues to make a lot of money because his 10th house is also activated, and Saturn, his Lagna Lord, his original Lagna Lord, goes into the 9th house in the money sign of Taurus, which is ruled by the Dasha Lord Venus. So his 9th house is activated, he continues to make a lot of money, and during this phase is when he invested money in Bitcoin, and he is said to make hundreds of crores out of the Bitcoin investment. And this is also because Saturn also rules his 5th house of speculative investments. And 5th house we know is all about speculative investments, investing money in mutual fund shares. So when he invested money in Bitcoin, he won a lot of money, and his doors of fate and luck also opened for him, especially because Saturn is placed in the money sign of Taurus and the Dasha of Venus is on. And now in this year he is supposed to come out with a huge movie called Brahmastra, in which Ranbir Kapoor and Alia Bhatt would be co-stars, which would roughly come in a few months or by the end of this year. Much awaited movie, and expected to add a few more stars to his already very illustrious career. However, because his 8th house is again activated, because of Mars being the 8th lord and placed in the Lagna, and Mars also ruling the 3rd house, and so he may face challenges to his health here. I am not making any predictions on his longevity or anything here. However, big problems he may face in terms of his health, and this is a next 5 to 6 years an important period for his health also. And this is the Dasha analysis for Mr. Amitabh Bachchan.
So friends, now that we have seen the Dasha analysis of Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's lives, my suggestion is that look back into your own horoscope, converting the Lagna into a Dasha Lagna, and to see how different events of your life have manifested, and you will be able to see that there is a linkage, strong linkage between a certain house being activated because of being the dasha of that planet, the fifth house changing results because the new dasha, the fifth house becomes a different sign altogether. So all those manifestations will come. And if you're seeing that your dasha lagna is coinciding a lot with the events of your life, then in your current life event also, or in your current dasha and going forward, it is always good to keep the dasha lagna in perspective and also see probable results coming forth from in your life, so that you can be better prepared and you can utilize that to your advantage. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend, astrologer and guide Irfan, signing off.